Because if you don't pause and acknowledge your progress, your brain does something very predictable. It just normalizes it. It files it away as no big deal and immediately moves the goalpost before you even notice. You're always arriving somewhere, but you never actually feel like you're arriving. And over time, that creates a quiet kind of dissatisfaction. Not because you're not doing enough, but because you're not allowing yourself to register. Hi there, I'm Wendy Rimmelsbacher, and welcome to the podcast show, Dim to Daring. Do you feel like there's something bigger waiting for you, but you're not sure how to make it happen? You're in the right place. I'm here to bring you inspiring stories, powerful insights, and practical strategies to help you reignite your spark, realign with your purpose, and take those bold steps towards the life you were meant to live. Let's dive in, because you're not finished yet. You're just getting started. Last week, you did something quietly brave. You didn't sign a contract. You didn't hand over a credit card. You didn't make a promise to anyone. You just showed up for a free class for something you've been curious about for years. And when it was over, you drove home with a smile you couldn't quite explain. That, right there, is exactly what we're celebrating today. Welcome to Dim to Daring. I'm so glad you're here. Let me paint the picture a little more. The days leading up to the class, you showed up to your normal schedule with a little more energy than usual. There was something in the background of your week. This quiet little excitement was building because you were about to do something that was just for you. You didn't know anyone in the room when you walked in. Neither did most of the people there, but you participated anyway. You learned, you introduced yourself to the woman next to you. And when it was over, you realized you wanted to do it again. Here's what I want you to hear. That step didn't cause a financial burden. It didn't fill you with dread. It didn't give you 100 excuses to back out. In fact, it did the complete opposite. It lit you up. And that lit up feeling is the most important data point you have as you start building your next chapter. And here's what I want you to hold on to from the very start of this episode. This isn't about making things bigger than they are. It's about finally refusing to make yourself smaller than you are. Can I ask you something? When's the last time you celebrated yourself? Now, not for a birthday or a promotion, and not for something that had a trophy attached to it, but just for showing up, for trying something new, for being brave enough to walk into a room where you didn't know a single person. If you're like me, the honest answer is not often enough. We're really good at celebrating the people we love, right? Birthdays, anniversaries, graduations. We show up with the cake and the flowers and the speech. But when it comes to the quiet, courageous things we do for ourselves, we brush right past them. We call them no big deal. We're already thinking about the next thing, in fact. And I think part of what makes this so hard is that we're often measuring our chapter 3 against someone else's chapter 20. So you went to the free class. She just launched a business. You made your first extra debt payment. She just paid hers off. And suddenly your win, your real meaningful win, starts to feel like it doesn't count. But here's what you need to hear. It does count. It counts exactly as much as it needs to for exactly where you are. And I think that's worth changing. What if you celebrated signing up for that 5K? not just crossing the finish line? And what if you celebrated making that first extra payment towards your debt, or hitting your first week of 7 hours of sleep, or prepping your lunches on Sunday so you actually eat well all week? None of these are small things. They're the things that change your life, one quiet, brave decision at a time. I want to share something with you, because this episode is as much about me practicing what I preach as it is about you. This month, Dim to Daring hit 1,000 downloads. I was so thrilled. 1 year ago, I sat down and recorded the very first episode, and honestly, I had no idea if anyone was going to listen. I didn't know if my voice would resonate, if my stories would land, if any of this would matter. I just knew that I had something to say, and that somewhere out there, there was a woman who needed to hear it. So, 1,000 downloads later, I now know she's out there, tuning in, showing up, and building her courage. But here's the thing. The 1,000 downloads didn't happen because of one big moment. They came from a lot of little ones. The mornings I sat down and hit record when no one was listening yet. The times I chose to keep going when I wasn't sure it would land. The hours learning how to edit, upload, and figure all this out so women like you could actually find the show. So many small steps, one after another. And sometimes the steps went backwards before going forward again. That's what built this. And none of it happened without you. You pressed play. You showed up. And that choice, yours, repeated by other women 1,000 times, is exactly what this episode is about. So thank you. Genuinely, you are why I celebrate. That's what I'm celebrating, and I want you to know, because your small steps are adding up too, even when you can't see it yet. Okay, so I've told you to celebrate, but let's get real for a second, because most of us hear that and think, sure, I'll celebrate. And then we just, move on to the next thing. So let's talk about what celebrating actually looks like. And before I give you the how, I want to say this. Even if you almost took the step and didn't quite get there, that counts too. The woman who signed up and didn't make it to class, she did something brave when she registered. We're counting that. We're counting all of it. First, acknowledge it out loud. Say it to yourself in the mirror. Say it to your best friend. Say it in your journal. There is something so powerful about hearing your own voice name what you did. I showed up. I tried something new. I did a brave thing this week. Don't let it live silently in your head. Give it a voice. Second, mark it somehow. This doesn't have to be expensive or elaborate. Light a candle that evening. Buy yourself the fancy coffee. Put a star or a sticker on your calendar on the day you did the thing. Take yourself on a solo walk and just let yourself feel good about it. What matters most is the ritual itself, not the price tag. Third, tell someone who will actually celebrate with you. Not someone who will minimize it, question it, not someone who will immediately pivot to what's next, but someone who will look you in the eye or text you back in all caps and say, yes, that is a big deal. I'm so proud of you. We all need at least one of these people. Be intentional about who you share your wins with. And fourth, write it down somewhere you'll find it later. Because 6 months from now, when you're in a hard season and you've forgotten how brave you've already been, you're going to need that list. Your past courage is evidence for your future self. Don't let it disappear. And here's the part most people miss. Celebrating small wins isn't just a feel-good practice. It's actually how you start to change the way you see yourself. Because if you don't pause and acknowledge your progress, your brain does something very predictable. It just normalizes it. It files it away as no big deal and immediately moves the goalpost before you even notice. You're always arriving somewhere, but you never actually feel like you're arriving. And over time, that creates a quiet kind of dissatisfaction. Not because you're not doing enough, but because you're not allowing yourself to register what you've already done. Celebration interrupts that pattern. It tells your mind, this mattered. It tells your body, we're not just surviving, we're progressing. And it tells your identity, I am someone who follows through, even in small ways. I can do difficult things. And when all that happens, something powerful kicks in. You actually build motivation from your own progress, instead of constantly chasing that next thing. It also lowers that constant pressure you might not even realize you're carrying. Because when nothing ever feels like enough, your system stays in go mode, always pushing, always reaching. Celebration gives you a moment of completion, and that's where satisfaction and honestly, a little bit of peace starts to come back in. It also helps you learn faster. When you stop and acknowledge what worked, what lit you up, and what felt right, you're more likely to do it again. You start making more intentional choices instead of just moving on autopilot. And there's one more piece that matters. When you share your wins, even the small ones, you invite people into your world in a different way. You create a connection. You let people celebrate with you. And that builds the kind of support that makes this whole journey feel a lot less lonely. That's what celebration is doing underneath the surface. It's not just about feeling good for a moment. It's building momentum. It's reducing burnout. It's strengthening self-trust. And it's reminding you you're already in motion. Because confidence isn't built in the big dramatic moments, it's built on the accumulation of small acknowledgments that say, I saw that. That mattered. It's not about making things bigger than they are. It's about finally refusing to make yourself smaller than you are. One more thing before we close. You can absolutely do hard things alone. You're more capable than you give yourself credit for. But here's what I've learned. We get there faster and we enjoy the journey more when we have people cheering us on. That woman you met at the free class, she might be one of those people. The friend who texts you back at 10 p.m. when you're doubting yourself, her too. The community you didn't know you were building, one small step at a time, it's already forming around you. You don't have to earn the celebration before you let people in. Let them in now. Let them see you in the middle of the becoming. Before you close out this episode, I want you to do one thing. Think of one small step you've taken in the last week or month that you've been quietly brushing past. Think of something that you did that was a little brave, a little new, or just a little more intentional than usual. And if you almost did something, if you got close, that counts too. So take that item and write it down. Say it out loud. Tell a friend and post it somewhere you'll see. You took that step for a reason. You deserve to honor it. And if you want to share it with me, you know where to find me. I would genuinely love to celebrate it with you. Until next time, keep going. The steps you're taking are braver than you know, and you are more than enough for every one of them. Until next time, keep shining and move from dim to daring. Thank you so much for joining me today on Dim to Daring. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love it if you subscribed, shared it with a friend, or left a review. It helps more women just like you discover the show. Remember, you're not finished yet, you're just getting started. Until next time, keep daring to grow and shine.